Here I go. This is the first edition of I have been declared the worst take YouTuber. I have been declared the worst take YouTuber. It has been declared by the Dark Council members and some of my own fellows I stream with that I have the worst takes in YouTube history. That may be true. But guess what? I don't care because I'm gonna like what I like. I'm gonna say what I'm gonna say. But one of the main things that have been on my mind as of late is Star Wars. Star Wars. There have been some shows that came across on Disney Star Wars Plus that we have liked and maybe not so much like some. Me more than others have liked some, and others is talking about it's hot garbage. It's trash. It's this. It's that. Um, it's whatever the case is. But at the end of the day, we all like what we like. We all probably don't really. We all can agree. All can agree, without a shadow of a doubt, that Kathleen Kennedy's Disney Plus is not as good as George Lucas' Disney Plus. Hands down. Any Star Wars fan that has any sense can admit to that one statement I just made. Kathleen Kennedy's Star Wars is nowhere close, not in the same stratosphere as George Lucas's Star Wars. Whether you like the prequels or didn't like the prequels, that's up to you. But we can all agree, most of us, I would say 95% of Star Wars fans can agree that the first 6 Star Wars were much better than the last 3 Star Wars movies in the trilogy. But we're not talking about those movies today. We're talking about Disney Plus shows. And also was in the chat. He said, "Boo." He said, "I never said that." No, I didn't say you never said that. But you have said that my takes are questionable. You have said that, brother. Anyway, I know it's with love, not really sweating that. But Dark Council members, Fatal J, Dark Council members, Mark with the C, and Drunk 3PO. Drunk P3O came out with it first. He said on one of the shows they have the worst take in YouTube history. So guess what? I'm embracing that. I'm gonna start this show. Whatever shows that come on, I'm gonna come out here and like I said, I have been declared the worst take YouTuber. Hey, it's whatever you think. I'm gonna embrace it. I'm gonna run with it because at the end of the day, I'm gonna watch what I want to watch. I'm gonna like what I'm gonna like. You can like it, don't like it, whatever it is, what it is. No love lost. The real nerdy review is in here. Yo, what's up, man? Thanks for joining me. Like I said, today we're going to be concentrating on the Disney Plus TV shows, animated and live action. We got a list of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. This ranges from Andor, The Mandalorian, Bad Batch, Boba Fett, Ahsoka, Tales of the Jedi, Obi-Wan, Rebels, Clone Wars, Visions, and Acolyte. Now, which one I'm going to start off with? I think I'm going to start off with the one, Clone Wars. To me, I love Clone Wars. I think it was 7 or 8 seasons. I can't remember the exact number of seasons, but Clone Wars is definitely canon. It picked up from, like I said, it's during the Clone Wars where we saw what was actually going on. We saw the rise of Ahsoka. Ahsoka was introduced. At first, when Ahsoka came in, a lot of people didn't like Ahsoka. A lot of people, that was Dave Filoni's creation. And I must admit, when she first came on the scene, she was very, very annoying to me, but she came out to be one of the fan favorites. In case you don't know who she is, Ahsoka Tano, she is Anakin Skywalker's Padawan, his first Padawan. I don't think he really wanted her, if memory serves me correct, but then he was given one because he needed to have the responsibility of trying to train someone. He kind of wanted to be a solo, wanted to be his own thing, kind of like a renegade, so to speak. But I think the council was able to put Ahsoka with him, and he showed her all his tricks. And that's why I think she's one of the best. Well, she didn't actually graduate to become a Jedi Knight, but she's one of the fiercest Force users, I think, um, in the Star Wars galaxy. I love Clone Wars. I thought it was fantastic. The different stories they had. It had some featuring Mace Windu, which is my favorite Jedi. It had some featuring Anakin and Qui-Gon. It had some featuring Obi-Wan. It had some shows featuring Palpatine. We saw, I think when we saw the Phantom Menace, we saw where Darth Maul was sliced in half by Obi-Wan. What we saw here in on the Clone Wars, how he survived and what drove him. And he came back and he faced Obi-Wan in the Clone Wars and was defeated. Obi-Wan was much older, as he was much older, but Obi-Wan was much wiser, much stronger in the Force, and easily dispatched um, Darth Maul. But it showed also Darth Maul facing Ahsoka. So Clone Wars, if you're not familiar with it, you need to go and check it out. It had a lot of good things. It showed, um, it kind of foreshadowed on one episode, one storyline where Anakin was going to turn to the dark side. He went to this planet that had like the father, the daughter, and the son. The father was kind of like the one that kept the son and the daughter in balance and in check. The daughter was good side of the Force. The son was the dark side of the Force. And of course, the daughter was killed. And in that episode, Ahsoka, she was turned to the dark side, and I think she died, if I'm not mistaken. And some kind of way they brought her back to life. But it has a lot of interesting stories in Clone Wars, and it's canon, and it ties on. Like I said, it follows um, closely with the Clone Wars. It's between Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith. It's somewhere in there. So make sure if you haven't seen it, check that out. It'll definitely get you caught up. And animation is fantastic. I think the writing is fantastic. It's one of the best things that Disney Plus produced. And George Lucas had his hands in that. So let's remember that. Next thing is Rebels. I love Rebels. Rebels. Let me try to think. It's been a long time since I watched Rebels, but Rebels was basically. I want to think the time frame was after Revenge of the Sith, somewhere in there. Because there was a scene where Ahsoka meets Darth Vader and they fight, but then there's this thing called the World Between Worlds, which a lot of Star Wars fans don't like. And somehow she can't escape death because Ezra was one of the big um, protagonists in this. And he was one of the big heroes in this. And of course, there was Admiral Thrawn. They showed all that. They showed how Ezra was trained up. I can't think of his Jedi Master. What was his Jedi Master? Kanan. Kanan taught him the ways of the Force. And of course, he sacrificed himself and he was able to get the space whales that could travel through space and time, and more or less to defeat Thrawn. He got them captured, and where he and Thrawn were time travel, they could travel, however the space whales travel. They travel through space and time to the far side of the galaxy, and it kind of avert the danger and divert the danger. But Rebels is fantastic. In Rebels, we see the Inquisitors and how Darth Vader trained the Inquisitors and how they became to be. It showed a lot of different things. Like I said, the Clone Wars showed between um, Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith. The Rebels took up after Revenge of the Sith and showed some of the struggles that they were trying to overcome and get back against the Empire. A lot of different stories. It showcased Ahsoka a lot. It showcased parts of Ahsoka. It showcased Darth Vader a little bit in some of the seasons, and it showcased, like I say, the rise of Kanan, Kanan's death, the Rebels. What's the guy's name? Ezra. Ezra was, like I said, one of the big time stars there. Young Jedi who became very important into the Star Wars story. I love Rebels. I thought Rebels was very good. Same pace, same grade as Clone Wars. I give both of those shows A's. Next, let's see what's on the list. What can I talk about? And I'm not going to talk about it in any particular order, but let's see. Let's talk about Visions. Okay, Visions was a show. If I had to give it a grade, I'm gonna give it a C because I think it was like 7 or 8 episodes, and this was definitely like it was done in the style of the anime. The first show that I can remember, it was more like a ninja, and this Jedi, well, he's a dark side user, I believe it was. I'm not sure. It's not really clear, but he fought this person. She had this like umbrella lightsaber, had several different blades and stuff, but he was able to defeat her. And it had like seven or eight different stories in that particular season, in that particular show called Visions. I think each show was done by a different director. I'm not sure their names. Like I said, out of the eight shows, different little short stories they showed, I think I might like three. Um, Shifty says the second season of Vision is much better. I'm not sure if I saw the second season. I can't remember. I remember the first season. I like six or seven. I think the second season it's a different art style than what we used to seeing too. Sometimes it's like in black and white and a different kind of. Um, it just delivered different, a whole lot different. I didn't hate Visions. I thought it was unique. I think they tried something different. The anime style seems to be very popular. I don't know if it automatically gravitates or automatically matches up with Star Wars, what we used to seeing, as far as the Rebels and far as Clone Wars. But it was different. Like I said, I didn't hate it. I didn't hate it. Um, I can't give it an A or a B. I give it a C. Like I said, because I didn't like all the episodes. I think some episodes in the first season was definitely silly. Shifty says the French cabaret episode was really neat. I don't really remember that, Shifty, so I'm not saying I can't. It was like a World War II story. Like I said, I remember the first seasons of Visions. Second is very vague, very vague. So I can't intelligently give it a grade based on what I don't know or don't remember. But what I remember first season, which I saw the episodes, was very good. Some of them, I say 3 out of the 8 was good. The rest of them were a little meh, underwhelming. So I'm gonna give it a C, C minus. But like I said, I didn't hate it. And a lot of people say, "Well, Danny, these shows are garbage. Why do you like them? Why do you find anything positive in them? Because they're garbage." And to that, all I can say is this, people. All I can say is this.
I got nowhere else to go. I got nowhere else to go. I got nothing else.
When it comes to Star Wars, bro, that's how most fans feel. I got nowhere else to go. I got nothing else. So I got to make the best of what I can do with what I got. So, anyway, Visions, I say again, is C minus, C minus. From what I can remember, I may have to sit down and watch season 2 again. I just can't remember. Next show I'm gonna talk about is Tales of the Jedi. Now I thought this was really good, especially the first episode where it showed Ahsoka when she was a baby, and that saber-toothed tiger-like creature took her and was about to make a meal of her, but then she was able to tap into the Force even at an infant and somehow control that saber-toothed tiger's mind and brought him back to the camp, to the village where she came from. And then it showed, I think, one we saw Yaddle in it, if I'm not mistaken, who was like the same race as Yoda. We saw how Dooku was kind of switched to the dark side of the Force, and we saw the Emperor, and we saw um, Qui-Gon. We saw a lot of stuff in there, so I really think that it was good. It was one of the better animations. Not good as Clone Wars, not on pace with Rebels, but it was good. I can't sit here and say that I hated it. Some of the shows are interesting. A lot of times people ask, like, we didn't ask to see this. A lot of things we didn't ask to see, but it's good to know. One of the things that I always find a positive in Star Wars things is that it gives me a lot more information, or it gives me additional information on Star Wars that I may have known, because not everybody can read the books. Not everybody reads the novels. Not everybody reads the EU. Not everybody reads the canon books. A lot of times we watch these movies, and sometimes that gives us a glimpse or insight into things that sometimes is interesting, sometimes it's boring. You like, I could have done without that. True. I'm not saying we could not have done without some of these shows, But some of these shows, to me, some of the information that I gathered is informative. And as a Star Wars fan, I definitely like it. And so what I do is just try to put it into a positive perspective. Hey, look, this is something I didn't know. Something was interesting. It was cool. It is what it is. So Tears of the Jedi. If you haven't watched it, you check it out. It shows a lot of good things. It shows like I remember one scene where Dooku it was a young Dooku and Qui Gon was his Padawan, and he was feeling some kind of way about um, some kind of disagreement between these two factions, and he's about ready to go to work. But I think I remember if I remember correctly, Qui Gon stopped him, and then there was a confrontation between him and Mason in one of the episodes. Then I think he finally kind of broke away from the Jedi Order, and then I remember him seeing Palpatine, and then he fighting Yaddle and killing Yaddle in front of Palpatine to show his allegiance. So it showed us a glimpse into how Dooku became a Sith Lord, how he was seduced by Palpatine. So it's information that we knew, but because we saw the live action movies, but didn't know why. It told us his transformation from being a Jedi Knight, transforming and slowly getting seduced and convinced, and then eventually going to the dark side. So I thought it was interesting. So again, what grade I want to give it? I give it a B minus. B minus is not terrible. It's not fantastic, but it's not. Let's see. Cal Central just have had an acquired taste, Danny. Cal Central, you just have to have an acquired taste, hey, bro. Yeah, that's what I say. But hey, some people say it is what it is. Like I say, I'm going to embrace it. I am the worst tech YouTuber, so I'm going to embrace that. Okay, next show I'm going to talk about is Bad Batch. Now, I like Bad Batch, but just like Ahsoka, Omega was quite annoying. When she first came out, she was quite annoying. I will give you that. And I was like, oh my lord, why does Favreau like writing these annoying characters? But as the story progressed, she became more and more bearable. She became to the point where I started liking her. Um, to me, the seasons got better. There was a difference of opinions between the four brothers. It was Crosshair, um, Crosshair. What are their names? I can't think of their names. I know it was Omega, Crosshair. There was one that was good with computers, one that was strong, and one that was a tracker. Anyway, but um, I didn't like the fact that one of them got killed. The tracker, not the tracker, but the one that was good with the computers. Um, didn't like that. And then Clone War, the Bad Batch is a continuation of the Clone Wars because we were introduced to the Bad Batch in the Clone Wars, and then we see they got their own show. Basically, if you don't know what the Bad Batch is, they were clones as well. Tech, that's it, tech. But they were taken outside of the normal batch of clones, and they were given special abilities. One he could track very good. I don't know how he had like an innate ability. Crosshair, Tech, Hupter. I don't know who Hupter is. Ripper, Torch, Monkey Wrench, and Zartan. What in the world? What are you talking about, Shifty? But I know it was Crosshair and Tech. Or two of them. One that had super strength. I can't think his name. Is it Ripper? Maybe. Um, one of them he could shoot. Man, I mean, he had sniper skills like you wouldn't believe. That was Crosshair. Crosshair, Hunter, Tech, and Wrecker. Yeah. Wrecker was the strong one. Tech was the smart one with the gadgets. Hunter is the tracker. And Crosshair was the one that is the exceptional sniper. Crosshair, for whatever reason, and Order 66 did not affect these clones. I don't think they had the chip in there, but I think they were able to, if memory serves me, it's been a long time since I watched it. They were able to deactivate them, all except maybe Crosshairs. And they were basically fighting against the Empire. And then Echo, yeah, Echo was a former clone that, if you watch Clone Wars, um, the Empire had him plugged into this some kind of sophisticated defense system, and and because he knew all the ins and outs and all the battle plans of the Alliance, they were able to use him, and he could counteract all kind of attacks that they would do, man. But they were finally able to unplug him from that system, and then he became a member of the Bad Batch. But the Bad Batch is basically about these clones. They had to do jobs and stuff because they're kind of running from the Empire, but they had a specific skill set that the other clones didn't have. We said one was strong, one was a tracker, one was a computer genius, and the other one was a sharpshooter. Shoot all kind of amazing shots from anywhere. So then, of course, Omega, she's like the perfect clone. I'm still not understanding all this, but she's the perfect clone. And somehow her blood can unlock all these other possibilities of other clones and all this kind of crazy stuff. The last season showed that. I didn't finish it all, but some people, a lot of fans didn't like it. Some was like, this is dull, it's boring, it's this, it's that. Um, I will say that some of the episodes were a little boring, but if you look at the overall story, then again, it's something else that you didn't know because this too transpired after Revenge of the Sith. So you kind of see a continuation of things that's going on, kind of sort of in the galaxy. So to me, it was interesting. I think they featured Cad Bane in a couple episodes and different Star Wars characters that we've seen. So to me, it was interesting. Shifty said, "I hope Omega is in Ahsoka season 2. That gal that voiced her grown up playing one of the Sand Snake gals on Game of Thrones." Okay, interesting. So if I got to give Bad Batch a grade, I'm gonna give Bad Batch C plus, maybe on a good day B minus, but probably C plus. Like I said, Ahsoka was very interesting. One of the characters too, Wanda Sykes' voice, and at first it was kind of annoying, but then I'm a fan of Wanda Sykes. I like her comedy, so I got used to the voice. It was kind of funny. Um, so like I said, Bad Batch. Some people it's not their cup of tea. For me, I could watch it. It wasn't bad. It didn't stink it up. I've seen worse Star Wars shows, but check it out if you haven't seen it. Okay, Bad Batch. Next, we're gonna go to Andor. Now, we have people that I know: Chris Knight, Shifty, Robert Storm. They like Andor. It's one of the best written stories in the Disney Plus catalog. I ain't disputing that. I can't say that it is. All I can say from my point of view, when I watch it, I felt it's extremely tired and sleepy. So much I've tried to watch it 2 or 3 times, and each time I start feeling extremely tired and sleepy. Is it a good story? It may well be. Is this my cup of tea? It's not my cup of tea. Um, Maybe it's showing some stuff that would tie into the different parts of the Star Wars movies. I don't know. It could possibly have. I just really can't get past of watching it because to me it's just super slow, super boring. And I know people use this term slow burn. Yes, a slow burn. Sometimes if I'm interested in something, a slow burn does not turn me off. But in this particular Star Wars IP or this particular Star Wars story, I can't it does not resonate in my spirit or my soul. I'm not gonna say it's crap because I haven't watched it. I haven't watched it all the way through, so it'd be unfair for me to say it is crap. All I can say with certainty that this story, from what I watched several times I try to watch it, I found it extremely boring. So for that, I will say it's not for me. It's not my cup of tea. But if you like it, more power to you. Next, we're going to talk about The Mandalorian. Mandalorian. Now, this show, I love The Mandalorian. I love the first season, second season, and the third season. Now, I did think The Mandalorian it had some momentum at the end of the second season. Everybody can remember the Luke Skywalker moment. Everybody. It was one of the biggest things. If you go and you watch the reactions to some of these people on Luke Skywalker, you think they be having a baby or something. What's up, Daniel Line? I'm doing well, man. I'm doing well, ma'am. I hope you're doing well as I hope you're doing well also. Thanks for joining in. I appreciate it. Just doing a little bit about talking about the different Star Wars shows and what I thought about them. Since I have been declared of having the worst take in YouTube. So I'm going to embrace that. And this is the first episode of the worst take YouTuber, which is me. Um, Getting back to it. Mandalorian. Um, One of my good friends also says that the first season was just a bunch of side quests, side quests, side quests, side quests. I can see what he's saying. Um, didn't mind it. 'Cause to me, the story was interesting, and it showed Mandalorian Din Djarin, being an ultimate badass. Some people saying that he's more of a Mandalorian than someone else I'm going to talk about here shortly. That may be well true, but I thought it was always interesting. His skill set, from the Cowboys spaghetti movies, I think it was the main thing it was based on. We saw Cad Bane in it. We saw um, Nick Nolte played in it. I think the first season, of course, the Luke Skywalker moment. We saw Gina Carano and played in her role. There's a famous comedian, I can't think of his name. He played in one of the episodes. And we saw the female Mandalorian. God, the names keep escaping me. But we saw the whole history of the Mandalorian. To me, there was one thing that they lost. Because the Mandalorian has that picture or that whatever beast it is that a lot of them wear on their armor. And in season 2, I think it was, maybe season 3, yeah, Boca Katan. Um, she was in the water trying to rescue the Mandalorian, and she saw that creature. And I was like, wow, man, that right there could be a good story. Bill Burr, you're correct. And they didn't never capitalize on it. So I'm not understanding why they didn't capitalize on it. Two things they had think that was interesting that could have made an interesting story arc, they didn't capitalize on. Luke Skywalker, they could have definitely capitalized on that and bring back some a lot of the fan support. But for whatever reason, Kathleen Kennedy, the powers that be, whatever the case may be, they chose not to go that, which is a lost opportunity. Second thing was that creature under the water that she saw. She saw it that one time. She made mention of, I think, maybe another episode or two, really didn't call its name, whatever. But that was something that was like could have bring the whole Mandalorian tribe back together. And they didn't do it. A missed opportunity to me. Moff Gideon was in there, his storyline, fantastic villain. I hate when they kill these villains off, or some of them, but they kill them off, and it's crazy. Yeah, the Mythosaur, that's it. Um, but to me, Bo-Katan, I think getting the dark saber back and in the different fight scenes that they show the different Mandalorians, their different skill sets, the different armors, the different way they use things. This is the way, the different Mandalorian tribes and stuff. I thought it was fantastic. It gave me or it gave us as Star Wars fans who haven't read the books a glimpse into how some of the Mandalorians think, their feel, their history, their background. We saw their skill set. We saw their code, their creed, all that kind of stuff. I thought it was fantastic. Season 3, the way it ended was a little underwhelming, so to speak. Him and Grogu just kind of getting their own place on that planet and just kind of right off into the sunset. They say there's going to be a Mandalorian movie. We have to wait and see. I hope it is. I hope it's something that's exciting and worthwhile. We saw Mandalorian cross over to another show, which I'm about to mention here next. And but I like Mandalorian. Din Djarin, fantastic character. Some people say it's not Star Wars. It didn't feel like Star Wars. Um, I won't say the whole time, but there were parts of it that really felt Star Warsy. There were parts of it maybe not so much. But of course, when you get new blood, new infusion into a IP, sometimes it's not going to stay as close to the original as we would like. But sometimes you gotta allow for a little growth, a little wiggle room for because sometimes the improvements can be better, sometimes it can be not so good, sometimes it can be detrimental to it. But For the overall, most of what I saw in the Mandalorian, I did not hate, and I'm going to give Mandalorian definitely a B plus, definitely a B plus. Next show I'm going to talk about is Boba Fett. Oh, Boba Fett, Boba Fett, Boba Fett, Boba Fett, Boba Fett, Boba Fett, Boba Fett. This show, when I think about it, man, I just gotta laugh because a lot of my friends on this channel, other channels, hate this show. Yeah, I've heard it being called heart garbage. I've heard it being called um, gorilla poop. I've been hearing it called all different kind of negative things. I think I might be the only person that might be like this show that I stream with. Most everybody else. So I guess that what makes you the worst tech YouTuber. But anyway, it is what it is. I'm gonna tell you really why I like this. Let me see if I can pull this up. I want to pull this up to make sure that I'm factual, because if I'm not factual, then Robert Stone will definitely call me out. But let me pull this up to make sure that I am factual. How many minutes? No. How much screen time did Boba Fett have in Star Wars movies? How much screen time did Boba Fett have in Star Wars movies? Ooh, how much screen time? Let me see. I want to read it here. I typed it in. How much screen time did Boba Fett have in Star Wars movies? Boba Fett had 6.5 minutes of screen time in the original Star Wars trilogy, which includes Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi. He also had 4 lines of dialogue in that trilogy. 4 lines. 6.5 minutes. That's a lot of time, boy. I'm just telling you, that's a lot of time. 6.5 minutes. Whew. 4 lines. Man, whew, that's a lot. I'm telling you. So, in 6.5 minutes, in 4 lines, this is the baddest man on the planet. The baddest man on the planet. The baddest man in the galaxy. Baddest man in the galaxy. But somehow, the baddest man in the galaxy got defeated and thrown into the Sarlacc pit, basically on goofiness. It was an errant shot. I think Han Solo was about blind. If I remember the scene, he's like, Boba Fett, where's Boba Fett? Turns around, hits his jetpack. Somehow he falls, it goes haywire. He falls to the Sarlacc pit where he stayed ingested in that Sarlacc pit for how many years? I don't know. I don't know how long it is. And I know what some people are going to say, but the EU books, there are books that shows how bad Boba Fett was and how bad this was this and how bad he was that he went to hell and he slapped the devil and he went to heaven and he slapped the goblet of milk out of God and took his honey out. They're going to say all that kind of stuff. All well and good. But the majority of the people, and this is the argument that y'all give me, the normies don't read those books. They don't read those books. They just don't. They don't read those books. And then here's Lonzo. Well, Vader had less than 10 minutes in Rogue One, and you said he was a badass, right? No matter how much time. Okay, Mr. Lonzo, but before then, we knew who Darth Vader was. He had a whole movie dedicated to him, Revenge of the Sith, where we see who becomes Darth Vader. We saw just how bad of a bad butt he was as Anakin. We saw what he could do. One of the most feared Jedi in the galaxy. And when he transformed, even with 2 legs missing, an arm, he still was one of the strongest Jedi Force users in the galaxy. So the 3 minutes, I'm saying in that particular movie, Rogue One, those 3 minutes made up and saved the movie in my mind. Because the movie wasn't all that fantastic to me. But when I perked up and saw Darth Vader going through them people like a buzzsaw, I'm like, yeah, that's a badass right there. He's getting the job done. That one scene. But we didn't see no scene like that with Boba Fett in Star Wars. We didn't. All we saw is what they said he could do. No disintegrations. No disintegrations. This, and that. We saw him shot a couple times. Even in Empire Strikes Back, we see Darth Vader block lasers with his hand and snatch the gun. Have a seat. We've been waiting for you. That's something badass. We saw shades of badassness in Star Wars for Darth Vader. We did saw those same shades of badassness for Boba Fett. We only went by what they were saying. No disintegrations. We saw him. He stood back in the trash dump, and when the Millennium Falcon disbanded, he stayed back. He followed him. But we saw more badass moments in Boba Fett than we saw in any of the Star Wars movies. We saw way more badasses. And let me give examples. First of all, he survived the Sand People. Nobody that I know of, anybody else, survived the Sand People, because usually they kill you. They go ahead and do what they need to do. That was one of the reasons what made Anakin snap, because they killed his mother. They held her, tortured her, did whatever they did to her, and finally she died of all the mistreatment she done, lack of food, lack of water, being beaten. So Anakin took them out. But some kind of way, he survived that. He learned their language. He became one of them. He went to a bar they needed, because they were the Sand People, believe it or not, being taken advantage of by the snake-looking people. What they call themselves, triads, if I'm not mistaken. But he went to that bar with all these supposed to be galactically bad ass people, beat their butt, took their bikes, came back, taught the Sand People how to ride the bikes, how to shoot, taught them strategies, and they took over the pikes, and that's what they call. They took over the train that the pikes were doing in their territory. We saw him tame that Rancor, which the Rancor was supposed to be like one of the baddest creatures in the planet, but he got on there riding it. He went face to face with Black Chewie, what they call his name? Comanthium or whatever. He survived an attack, a fight with him. I think, if I remember correctly, he came into Jabba's palace and pretty much shot the person, pushed him out the throne and sat on the throne, and took over the man's castle. Now, you may not think that's badass. That's your prerogative. I thought it's pretty impressive. You're gonna go to somebody's house, shoot him, sit in their seat, take over. Now, was he this butt kicker like Ben Jarin was? No. If I had to guess, he's about 20 years older than Ben Jarin. And I can tell you right now, the 20 less year old Danny is much more aggressive than the 53-year-old Danny. The 33-year-old Danny was much better, much bigger badass than the 53-year-old Danny. It's just the way that it is. Now, the 53-year-old Danny is much smarter, works smarter. The 33-year-old Danny works harder because he relies on his youth, his athleticism, his energy, his vigor. 53-year-old Danny don't have that same youth, energy, and vigor. So I got to work smarter. I learn more wisdom. This Boba Fett was more wiser than the young Boba Fett we saw. Plus, he was taught, his dad was Jango Fett, supposed to be the baddest bounty hunter in the galaxy. So he learned all those secrets. Now, did he use them? Or did we see a lot of that skill and stuff that maybe his dad possessed? Maybe we didn't. But it maybe did some aspects of the story, like a lot of the him in the back of the tank and he is flashbacking. Did it do that maybe too much? I'll give you that. It maybe did that too much, but a lot of times the flashbacks were filling us in on the gaps of his story and what had happened. But again, I know what some people are going to say. Danny, we didn't ask for that. Nobody cares. Okay. And again, I can tell you, I can say this with 100% certainty what I'm about to tell you. Um, bum, bum, bum. Bum, 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 bum. Now, like you said, okay, Dan Lance said, let me say, I'm a bigger badass at 53 than I was at 23. I hear you, Daddy Line. I hear you. One badass smarter at 53 than 23 to be sure. Yeah, you smarter. You work smarter than you did at 23. 23, you allowed a lot of your athleticism, your youth and stuff you didn't know. But physically, you probably able to do more at 23 than you are at 53. So I'm saying physically, Boba Fett could do more at 23 than he could at 53. He works smarter. He's able to plan and strategize stuff. At 23, you just going on youthful impulse. I can do this. I know what I can do. Blah blah blah. Okay. Um. Yes, Anna, I know you are definitely a badass. Yes, she is. Dayline is a badass. What up, brother? I'm listening at work. These are some really bad takes. LOL. Good to see you still got it. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you. I'm going to embrace it. Oh, yes, I can feel the bad takes making me stronger, Mark. Um, let's see. Let's see. Yeah, when it comes to Star Wars, this is all I have to say right here. This this is what I have to say, and I'm gonna die on this hill. You can like it or don't like it.
I got nowhere else to go. I got nowhere else to go. I got nothing else.
I ain't got nothing else. So I'm gonna have to make do with what I'm seeing. Whether or not y'all want to sit down and watch it, hey, that's up to you. Whether you think it's hot garbage trash, hey, that's your prerogative. Whether you think it's gorilla poo poo and crap, that's your prerogative. Whether you think my takes are gorilla goo goo and trash, that it is your prerogative to feel that way. I just tell you how I feel. I like it. Some of the stuff I like, some stuff I don't like. And like I said at the beginning of the show, in case some of you didn't watch it, Kathleen Kennedy's Star Wars is definitely inferior to George Lucas's. There is no doubt. You will never hear me say that. The last three Star Wars, I did not care for. The last three Star Wars movies, I did not care for. The first six are superior. There's some people that don't like the prequels. That's your prerogative. I like the prequels. They're fantastic. I like the first three. In my opinion, The Revenge of the Sith is the best. Then second is Empire Strikes Back. That's the way that I rank them. Most people say that's garbage. That's trash. Okay. Anyway, Boba Fett, some people thought was hot garbage trash. All I'm saying, there were aspects of it that I like. I'm not saying it's the most fantastic thing out there because it's not, but there were some aspects of Boba Fett that I like, and there were some ways that I know if you read the books and it showcased how Boba Fett was such as galactic badass. I just didn't see it because I didn't read the EU books. But if you said he is in the EU books, then that's perfectly fine with me. You have more knowledge than I will. I will concede that your knowledge is more than mine. But based on what I saw on the TV show, um, I didn't hate everything about it. Okay, next show we're gonna talk about is Ahsoka. Ahsoka leaves me in a conundrum because Ahsoka is one of my favorite characters. But I didn't necessarily like some of the things that we saw. The thing with Sabine being force sensitive, didn't really care for that at all. We didn't see any indication of that in Rebels, so I don't know why they made that transition from Rebels to the Ahsoka show. Didn't care for that at all. Um, the Sith, or it was played by Ray Stevens. Thought he was the best, one of the best things in there. I did not like their how they made Ezra. Didn't care for him. the guy that played Admiral Thrawn, I think is a good character. I don't know whether or not he fit the bill because when I remember seeing images of Thrawn, I seen someone that's like well fit, um, kind of imposing physically. I didn't get that from him. Um, let me see. I'm trying to read some of these things. Did you talk about the new Batman show? No, I haven't talked about it more. I've seen 1 or 2 episodes of it. I think Batman the Crusader or something like that. I saw it on Prime. I saw 1 or 2 of the episodes. I didn't see it all, but I will do something on that. He seemed like a badass in the show. It would be boring if he instantly defeated every foe. That's what I said on the Airline Fluff. But don't agree with me because you too will be declared as the bad take YouTuber. So don't agree with anything that I say. What they did with Sabine was lame. I agree. I did not care for what they did with Sabine. They retconning as far as we know. The end of the Rebels was also lame. No, I won't say that. Rebels was good. I like Rebels. One of my favorite things they did. Also getting stabbed with a lightsaber and not dying, super lame. I'm guessing they were so desperate for Jedi that they scooped up anyone with even a vestige of potential. I own my bad takes. Yeah. There's gonna be another bad take. In my profession, I've seen people that were shot in the head, shot in the chest. This one lady I know, and this is no lie, no exaggeration, she's been stabbed over 50 times, all over her body, back, side, chest, all in her torso, and has survived. I've said at my office that we need to examine her blood and duplicate it because she has some of the toughest blood. I don't know what's in that blood, but she has an incredible will to live. She's been stabbed by her boyfriend. I don't know how she survived, but she survived several times. I think the last count, and I'm not exaggerating, is well over 40, 50 stabs. If you would see the crime scene, blood all over the room, looked like some kind of horror story, and she survived. Like I said, I know this guy that's still living. He's been shot in the head. He's still walking around. He's talking just like nothing ever happened. There's some people, for whatever reason, if it's not their time, if it's not God's will, whatever the case may be, if you're not a believer, whatever it is, maybe they just physically superior than some of us are. I don't know, but there are things in real life that seems highly unlikely, and there are people that are still walking around here talking after being in life and death situations. So being stabbed with a lightsaber, it seems very unlikely that she survived, but maybe it's possible. We saw right there, and we get more pushback on Sabine being stabbed with the lightsaber than we do with seeing Darth Maul cut in half. He was cut in half. But I don't remember any pushback or not as much pushback. I really don't remember. I got to go back and look. As much pushback about Maul surviving than we have about Sabine. People are losing their mind. Sabine got stabbed in the torso or the left side, right side of her body, whatever the case may be, a non-vital organ with that. And if I'm not mistaken, that thing burns so hot, it cauterizes. Like I say, I don't know the science of the lightsaber. If I knew the science of the lightsaber, I would be able to speak more intelligently on it. But she survived. But people are losing their mind. How can she survive? Da, da, da. But I'm telling you, I can't give these people names on the show because they would put my job in jeopardy. But I know these people in real life that have sustained these wounds, and they're still walking around here. We seen firsthand on this show, Darth Maul was sliced in half on Phantom Menace by Obi-Wan, but yet when we see him again in Clone Wars, and we see how he survived and what it took to survive, that the Force sustained him in his hatred. You see that same thing with Darth Vader and Anakin. We see him his leg sliced off, his leg, his arm. We see a volcano or that hot lava almost burn him to a crisp. We don't question that. We don't question that. No one has ever questioned that before. If you say you did, you're lying. No one questioned that when we found out what happened in Star Wars. No one questioned it. We say the Force sustained him. So now in this movie, in this particular show, she's supposed to be force sensitive. So maybe the force did the same thing for her that it did for Anakin, where both his legs got cut off, half his arm, he got burned up, all that kind of stuff. He still survived. I'm just saying. So if we can't criticize and push back on one, why are we criticizing losing our mind and pushing back on the Sabine thing? Let me see. I'm trying to catch back up. Crab people were awesome, though. I did not like the crab people. Just like the same way I didn't like the Ewoks. Crab people, Ewoks, equate to the same thing. Tea is but a flesh wound. The Darth Maul thing was goofy, though it didn't a snake in a junkyard give him spider legs? I don't know how he got the legs, but he survived it, being cut in half. Also, Darth Vader survived it. Both legs cut off, arm cut off, burned to a crisp, burned his hair off, damaged his lungs, all that kind of stuff. We get no pushback about that, but we get pushback about Sabine being stabbed in the stomach or the side in a non essential organ. And oh, look at that. That's crazy. Just saying. You take that and do with what you want with it. But Ahsoka, because I like Rosie, what's her name? Rosalind. I can't think of her last name, but we know what I'm talking about. She's a phenomenal actress. Whenever I see Ahsoka, I instantly go to her. I think she was made for that that character. She's embraced it. And Rosario Dawson, correct. And I think that she does a good job on it. I loved her when she was in it was in the not Clone Wars, but the Mandalorian. Her episode and the Luke Skywalker episode were the best two episodes in that season 2 of the Mandalorian. She is a badass. She was taught by the biggest badass in the galaxy for us, Anakin Skywalker. I think one of maybe better from what I read in EU books, anything else, is maybe his father, Luke Skywalker. But Anakin, we saw, I think, in Tales of the Jedi, what he did to train her. So we know that she has been trained by one of the best, if not the best, Jedi ever. So Ahsoka, like I said, I didn't like what they did with Ezra. I know some people say I'm body shaming, but I didn't like the look of Thrawn. He had the mannerisms and he had the demeanor of Thrawn, but I didn't like it. The witches didn't hate him, but wasn't in love with him. Now kind of switching. Not like Ahsoka. It's a beam is where Thrawn was at. Now Thrawn's back in the regular universe. Not sure whether they're going to do in Ahsoka season 2. It'd be interesting to definitely see. I would definitely want to check that out if they do it. But we just have to sit here and see. But I didn't hate Ahsoka. If I got to give it a grade, I'm gonna give Ahsoka maybe a B minus, maybe B minus C plus C, somewhere in there, depending on. Like I said, it's been a while since I watched it all. I can't remember everything, but I definitely didn't like the crowd people. Definitely didn't like the way they did Sabine, her having the Force and stuff, Ezra and all this kind of crazy stuff. Didn't like the direction that they took, but overall, like I said, I didn't hate it. Now we get down to the last one, and this should be interesting. So far, I went over Visions, Clone Wars, Rebels. Oh no, got 2 more. Went over the Tales of the Jedi, Ahsoka, Boba Fett, Bad Batch, Mandalorian, Andor. Last 2. Next one is going to be Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan Kenobi. This should be interesting. I like Obi-Wan for the simple fact that it showed us just how down in the dumps Kenobi was. And people don't understand it. Now, you got to remember now, this is Obi-Wan's mindset. First of all, his brother, Anakin, which he feels like a brother, not a son, not a dad too, but a brother, he had to fight and he thought that he killed him. He chopped off his legs. He left him there on Mustafar to die in that hot planet, the lava stuff. He thought that he was defeated. Then he finds out that he's alive and he's reincarnated as Vader. And Vader has taken out, Order 66 has taken out 95% of his Jedi brethren. They're one time at the top of the mountain. Now they're at the bottom of the mountain. Later down the line, later down the line. It was good seeing you. I'm glad he was able to jump in. I'm glad he was able to jump in. I appreciate the support. They were at the top of the mountain, at the top of the pecking order. Then they go from the top of the pecking order all the way down. He saw where Anakin came in there and killed all the younglings. He saw where Padme, who he liked, died because of a broken heart. On top of that, he had to take care of Luke, or keep a watchful eye on Luke. He had to take all the power that he knows, the connection with the Force, and cut it, because that's the only way he could preserve his life, being undetected and still keep an eye on Luke. Not to mention, Luke's uncle didn't like him, and every chance he get to say something, he's saying something. And he leave him alone, chirping, 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 chirping. Now he's got to do manual labor to work and survive. Now on top of that, his once friend, God, what's his name? Can't think of his name. Anyway, he's calling Obi-Wan now because Leia, who Yoda's supposed to be watching, no, who God, what's the guy's name? I'm drawing a blank. Not Yoda, no. But I hate it when I can't think of it. Well, anyway, she's been kidnapped. So now he's gonna come out of hiding. He's not been using his force, so he's a little rusty. There's a little ring rust. We all see athletes in the past that when they don't box, they don't wrestle, they don't play football, there's a little ring rust. They have time to get into shape. So when we see him, he's not he is nowhere near the Obi-Wan Kenobi that we know. Some people can't seem to understand that. Why is he so sorry? Why is he this? Why is he that? Because the man has been hiding for years. He's been trying to stay under the radar as far as humanly possible, which means I got to disconnect from the force, which is something that to me is like second nature. It's like breathing. I've used it for so long. Now I got to disconnect from that. We don't know how many years passed. I'm assuming 2 or 3 years he hadn't used the force. He's just a regular human. He's seen all this craziness going on. There was a time when he could do something about it, but now, in order to keep himself safe and alive, and also to keep eye on Luke and safe and alive, he has to disconnect. That is the premise of what we're looking at. Then all of a sudden, his location is found out. Then his friend is asking him, "Look, I need your help." Leia's gone, so now he's like, On top of Luke and his uncle Lars don't like me. Now Leia's gone. What I'm going to do? So he gets pressured into helping, and he goes looking for Leia. And then Leia, of course, she got her own little mind, her own little thing, and her own little it's my way, this kind of stuff. He gets to find her, gain her trust. He does all that. Then he finally realizes, hey, look, I got to tap back into the Force. I got to get my mojo back. I got to get ready because Vader is looking for me. He's going to find me, and when he finds me, I got to be up to par. The first time he encountered Vader, Vader got the best of him because he wasn't up to par. We have seen that is a prime example of ring rust. He had ring rust when he first met Vader. Vader was on the top of his game. If you see him going through that town, man, he's snapping people's necks, he's pulling people out, all this kind of crazy stuff. Now, some of these characters they put in there, like Reva, I didn't like her. Thought she was garbage. Thought it was trash. Her character just did not do it for me. But the fight between her and Vader, I thought was fantastic. We've seen some stuff I'd never seen, like Force Cutter. Vader blocking blows with the Force and doing all this kind of stuff, and not flipping, but docking and dodging and ducking, all kind of stuff that we never seen him do in any other version of the Jedi. We always see him fight with lightsaber, but then he's pretty much defeats her with the lightsaber. Then when she puts out hers and starts spinning and stuff, he ignites his, and then he pretty much take hers, give a blow that should have killed her, but it didn't kill her. The other one, nobody didn't push back on. He gave a blow that in most cases would have killed her. If memory serves me, in The Last Jedi, or was it The Force Awakens? The Force Awakens, Kylo Ren, I mean, he slashes Finn on the back, all across the back. It should have sliced him in half. It didn't, but we don't complain about that. You don't push back on that. Oh, girl, she's put a big mark across his face. This lightsaber is as red hot and burning hot as we proclaim and what people want to say. It should have slashed piece of his face off. It didn't. It just left a mark. So, like I said, I don't know the physics of the lightsaber. I never seen a book that tells me the physics of a lightsaber. I don't know. But I'm just saying, some of these things, these other wounds that we see other people take, some people put more emphasis on some than others. Blah, 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 blah. I need to skim through Kenobi again, as their figures or droids made from that show that I actually don't remember. What's up, DQ, man? Glad you're able to join me. What's up, DQ? I have looked at most of the shows, and I can definitely say I am disappointed in the current Star Wars. DQ says, hi, Shifty. Basco says, what's up, Derek QT? Okay, I'm caught up with that. Trying to get back. But like I said, Obi-Wan, I liked it. It didn't break canon to me. I like when Obi-Wan, because it says some people were thinking, I was going to think it too. If you remember New Hope, when he's first fighting Vader in the corridor, he says, I last saw, I was but the learner. Now I am the master. So you're like, how they going to keep that attack? But the last time that he fought with Vader, he decisively beat Vader. And then showed a flashback when he was Anakin, where he thought he had upper hand on Obi-Wan, but Obi-Wan told him the reason why he loses because he thinks he's this, that, and other, and he tries too hard, whatever the case may be. Obi-Wan is a superior, duelist, lightsaber duelist, whatever you want to call it, than Anakin was, even back then, and even when he fought him in Obi-Wan. So the fight scene with Obi-Wan, I thought was fantastic. Is it good as the fight scenes that we see in the prequels? No, it's not. But none of the other ones, well, prior to a certain show, are as good as the fight scenes we see in the prequels. And I know that's how George Lucas wanted, because that when the Jedi were at their most prominent, that's when they were at their most powerful. So of course the fight scenes are going to be better than anything, or faster, or more aggressive than anything we've seen in the first three, in the originals. I get that. I understand that, no problem at all. But in the sequels, those lightsaber scenes was boring. I'm like, but hey, just me. I could be wrong. I guess again, the worst take YouTuber ever. That's me. Okay. Obi-Wan, if I gotta grade it, I'm gonna give Obi-Wan B plus. B plus. I liked it. I like the dialogue between him, especially when he was like, "I am truly sorry." When he slashed off Vader's helmet, he could see a part of Anakin's face. I really like that scene. And he's like, "Man, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for everything." And then he said, "You had nothing to be sorry about. You didn't kill Anakin. I did." And then he said, "Well, I have truly lost my friend." And that scene right there, I just liked it. It really, really stuck home. I can remember it. It's just like I saw it yesterday. And the scene at the end when he saying goodbye um, to to Leia, when they go back to Alderaan, and he says goodbye to God, what's his name? God, it's driving me crazy. I can't think of his name. Leia's step, the guy that adopted Leia, him and his wife. Obi-Wan went back to Alderaan, and he told her goodbye. And she said, "Will I ever see you again?" And he said, "Maybe one day," or he don't know, that kind of stuff. Really good scenes. So Obi-Wan has some good scenes in it. The thing with Reva or Reva, whatever name is, coming back um, to the farm where Luke was at, and then not killing Luke, deciding to turn good. Bail Organa, that's it, Bail Organa. And decided to turn good, and this kind of stuff. I didn't like that. Didn't like any of that stuff. The Reva character I didn't like. The Inquisitors in that particular show I didn't like. They could have done better. The Grand Inquisitor didn't look right. Didn't look like he's supposed to have looked according to the novels and according to when we saw on that Attack of the Clones. Or was it no? Yeah, Attack of the Clones. He was in Attack of the Clones. He didn't look the same way. They get that wrong. Not a fan of the Inquisitors. Not a fan of some of the storyline, but the 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 Darth Vader and the Obi-Wan stuff I really liked. You know, the interaction between Leia and uh, and Obi-Wan I really like. Like I said, I'm gonna give Obi-Wan B plus. None of these shows, as you can see right now, got an A besides Clone Wars and Rebels, and those are animated. No other live action that I've seen gets an A. You never hear me say that because they had issues. But Clone Wars and Rebels to me definitely get A's. I love both those series. And the last show, The Acolyte. Oh boy, the Acolyte. Where do I start? I don't know anybody that likes the Acolyte besides me. Maybe Robert Storm. Mark with a C was recently on the show. He's like, Danny, you like the Acolyte? There's some aspects of it I like. I didn't hate it like some people do. Boy Ozzo, he didn't like it. My boy Guy Scar, he didn't like it. DJ didn't like it, I don't think. Not sure about G Major. Um, Ninja didn't like it. Hmm. There were several people didn't like it. Shifty didn't like it. So let me tell you some of the things I liked about it. Now, disclaimer: the writing definitely needed improvement. No doubt about it. The writing was sporadic, disjointed, all over the place, crazy. Sometimes it didn't make sense. Sometimes it did. It was back and forth, to and fro, whatever the way it would be. Definitely need writing. Writing, awful. I'll give you that. The actress that played May in OSHA didn't like her. Did not like her at all. I did like Trinity, whatever character she played. Um, Soul, he's too. At first, I liked him, then I didn't. It kind of goes back and forth. I know he learned. He just learned English to play that, but sometimes to me, it seemed like he was overacting. It kind of was irritant to me. Now, who I did like was Gramir, the acolyte, the Sith Lord, whatever you want to call him, the apprentice, whatever you want to call him, whatever floats your boat to call him. He carried the show. He was the most interesting character on there. And what I like about this series is that this series did something that some of the other series never did for me. It made me interested. Like, what's the next show? Because all the episodes ended with cliffhangers or leaving you with a question like, so what happened? So what's this? Or who's this? Who's that? Whatever it is. Every last episode to me, I was waiting to see what was going to happen or answer my questions or questions that I had the previous Tuesday before. So that one thing I like. The fight scenes were some of the best fight scenes we've seen since the prequels. They are much better than the sequels as far as speed and far as power and far as like badass moves, better than the originals. I'm gonna say it. No, some people aren't gonna agree with that because they like Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker, and I don't hate it. But there was one particular scene where he disconnected his lightsaber and he blocked one blow, and then he used the short end, the saber, and stabbed a person 3 times like in a triangle. If you watch it, man, it's a nice move. It's an aggressive, badass move. It's like whoa, and I just liked it. Now there was some fight scenes in there. They had little issues too with the hidden tiger, crouching tiger, hidden dragon move where he's jumping and floating and all kind of crazy stuff. That didn't seem Star Wars like. Didn't like that. Didn't like that part of the fight. But for the most part, the fight scenes, episode 5 in this series is a good episode. I would give that episode an A. I don't care what you say. You can You could definitely say I'm the worst take YouTube. I don't care. But if you watch episode 5 from start to finish, it was the most um, well put together story. The story made sense from start to finish. The action was just as good as the story. And you were like, man, this is really nice. Why can't they do this for the whole series? Why can't they do this for the whole Star Wars franchise? Why is it going to hell in a handbasket? But this one perfect episode, they could do this. So I don't know whether it was a fluke, it was an accident. I don't know. But episode 5 in this series, fantastic. I think everybody that was on the roundtable gave it an A. So that lets me know that they have the potential to do good stuff. They just choose not to do it. And I don't know why they don't listen to the fans on some of the stuff. Because of episode 5, I cannot totally 1000% hate this series. Because there were things in it that I like. I definitely like Quamir, like I said, the acolyte, the Sith Lord, whatever you want to call him, whatever your take on what he is, I liked him. I like the fact that we saw Darth Plagueis. Some people say, man, he looked kind of creepy. He looked kind of this. But if they use Darth Plagueis right, we're going to see that he took this magic plus the Force plus whatever scientific super science magic that is to create life like we saw in Osha in May. And maybe it's the same that he's going to use and pass out on to Palpatine and create Anakin, because they're saying Anakin is like the immaculate creation, immaculate conception, where Palpatine used the Force to create Anakin, and that's why the midichlorian count is through the roof. Last time I checked, if memory serves me correctly, the midichlorian count was extremely high for May, and Soul was able to figure out they're not two different people, but they're the same person. How that worked, how it's going to happen, we don't know. If they're going to have a season 2, then maybe they'll dive more deeper into that and explain more. Because there's a lot of unanswered questions, like where is the Horn Lady, who was one of the witches? You didn't see her body. You don't know if she's still alive or not. How is Plagueis is he going to interact with these two? Because now it looks like May is with Cormier, and he's going to be her master, and she's going to learn. So we see that at the end. We don't know whether or not how they're going to progress. We don't know whether or not we saw Yoda at the end. So we know Yoda is in this timeline. So this is happening probably about 100 years, if memory serves me correctly, 100 years before the Phantom Menace. So the big question is, did Yoda know that they were lying? That the lady, the green haired lady, the green bald headed lady was lying? Because she clearly lied when she said Soul was responsible for all this kind of stuff. She put all the blame on him. He took the fall, but she was lying. Is she going to tell Yoda that there is a Sith, a dark side user out there? Does Yoda know this? Is he going to choose not to tell us? These are questions that you want to answer. And a lot of people don't like the way this is painting the Jedi, because the Jedi they are very questionable. They do sneaky stuff. They do suspect stuff. Is Yoda going to be a part of that? Is it going to be a big cover up? Is this going to taint George Lucas's legacy or what he built about the Jedi? We don't know. That's why I want a season 2, to see whether or not how they're going to clean this up, or how are they going to show it. Is Yoda going to be a part of the cover up? What is Cormier going to do? Are we going to see more of Darth Plagueis? Are we going to see a young Palpatine? These are things I want to see, and that season 2 could possibly show us if they choose to do it, or if they choose to go that direction. But a lot of people don't want to see that. And like I said, that is your prerogative. That's your prerogative. If you don't want to see it, that's fine. That's all well and good. But again, this is how I feel about Star Wars now. This sums it up perfectly, how I feel.
I got nowhere else to go. I got nowhere else to go. I got nothing else.
So, until Star Wars get better, until someone kicks Kathleen Kennedy out, until someone does whatever they need to do, and it start getting better, that's how I feel. I got nowhere else to go. I got nothing So I gotta make do with what I make do. And if that makes me, and if that declares me to be the worst take in YouTuber, the worst tech YouTuber, then I wear that honor proudly. So this is my takes on the 11 shows that we saw on Disney Plus, some animated, some live action. Maybe you feel the same way about some of the things I said. Maybe you don't. If not, leave a comment after I go off. And I definitely appreciate everybody that came in here. We saw Shifty Gism. We saw DQ. We saw Anik Jones. Anik Jones said, "Isn't D23 next week? Might get some new Wars movies and shows. I don't know. I think there's one coming out, The Bone something. I don't know. Some sort of Wars movie. Hey, Bosco and Shiftism, DQ said, anger leads to hate, which leads to suffering eventually the dark side. So we may see Skeleton Crew. I think that may be the next one that's coming out. If Richard Gere went missing from Hollywood once the rumor he was into gerbils sprang up. What? It's weird. Richard Gere went missing from Hollywood once the rumor he was into gerbils sprang up. Wow. That's news to me, but I don't know anything about gerbils, but if you say so, Shifty. Bosco was here. The Real Nerdy Review was here. Anzo was here. Mark with his C was here. I thank you all for joining me. I appreciate it. Like I said, I just wanted to come by for a little bit and talk about these different shows and just tell you my perspective. Daddy Line was here. I definitely appreciate her. She is definitely a badass. And I don't want to miss anybody. Dewan was here. What's up, Dewan? Appreciate it. I do believe that's all. So, until next time, I hope you have a fantastic weekend, man. Those of you who are working, man, be safe, man. Get off and get home and relax and get ready to watch whatever. I don't know hey, I'm ready for tomorrow night to watch episode 8 of House of the Dragon. If you haven't watched that, definitely check it out. It's fantastic. One of the best shows ever. SummerSlam in an hour. Later, Danny, get great stream. Thank you. I appreciate it. All right. Until next time, take it easy. Have a fantastic day. And what am I going to go out with y'all today? What am I going to go out with? What am I going to go out with? What can I go out with y'all? This is it. This is what I'm going out with.
None of you seem to understand. I'm not locked in here with you.
That's it! You're locked in here with me!